Ilya Sukhar, who graduated in 2003, will reflect on the process of building a company and will revisit some misconceptions he held while a student at Harker. Sukhar is co-founder and CEO at Parse. Parse is a platform that makes it dramatically easier to build cross-platform mobile apps. The company was acquired by Facebook in 2013 and continues to operate independently. Before Parse, Sukhar was the first employee at eTax, where he worked on all things product and engineering. He started his career as an early engineer at Oyala, a video platform company. Sukhar holds a master's degree in computer science from Cornell, where he did distributed systems research and graduated with honors. Let's welcome Ilya Sukhar.
Thank you. Really excited to be here. It's been a little while since I've been on campus. Things have changed a little bit. There's a lot more lab coats on campus. So yeah, I graduated about a decade ago. We were the second graduating class, so all the parents in the audience, you're welcome for beta testing this whole thing. I think it worked out pretty well. So Ms. Chetty reached out to me, and I was interested in speaking, and we kind of went back and forth a little bit and decided to do something around lessons learned from entrepreneurship or something like that. So I'm going to try to relate some things that I thought would have been interesting to know as a student in high school, way back in the day. And so I was trying to get into the mode, I forgot what it was like, of being a high school student. And one thing that popped into my head was my senior yearbook quote, "Not all those who wander are lost," by Tolkien. Do you guys still do senior yearbook quotes? It's not like over Snapchat or anything? Yeah, okay, yearbooks still exist, good. And so this quote kind of represents what I was feeling like at the time. I was graduating, but not really sure what I wanted to do with my life, and sort of felt like I should own sort of that uncertainty. And in general, I think this sort of also represents kind of what I want to get across in this talk, and what has really permeated in my career, which is that uncertainty is good, and embracing it and exploring everything that comes with it is actually how you succeed sometimes and can really lead to great things. And so there's this other small preamble that I like to give sometimes when I talk about this kind of thing. It's a little bit cut off here, but success, right? This is what people think it looks like. People think that folks on the path to great science discoveries or mega riches or fame or sports success have it all planned out. It all looks very linear. You just have to kind of execute, for decades upon decades. And you do have to execute, but really, internally, it looks a lot more like the thing on the right. No one knows what the heck they're doing. Everyone's figuring it out themselves. And this uncertainty certainly doesn't end with, what college you're going to or, what you got on your SATs or whatever you guys think about these days. So my journey begins, I suppose, right after Harker. I went to Cornell. This is what their website will lead you to believe it looks like. In reality, it looks a little bit more like this. So it's a great school, don't get me wrong. If that's your first choice, I'm happy to talk to you about it, but realize what you're getting into. So I studied computer science there. It was great. Really honed in on my love for programming and sort of my love for building things for people. And so I spent a lot of time focusing on computer science classes, doing research. I interned at places like Amazon and Google. Those were okay. I thought it was great to build stuff, but it felt like it was slow and hard to build stuff there relative to what it was like to do something in my dorm room. I spent a summer trying to really get back to this photo, which this happens for 6 weeks of the year. I spent a summer there doing research, and that was pretty cool. And so for a little bit, I was thinking maybe I should do the academic route, maybe I should get a PhD, maybe I should do research. Turns out that was also a little too slow-paced for me. It's like you do a bunch of work, and then you spend a lot of time waiting for paper submissions to go somewhere. And so that wasn't for me either. And so having grown up in Silicon Valley, I had been exposed to a bunch of startup activity, entrepreneurship. My parents were kind of involved with their own small little company. So I decided, actually, after graduation, this was 2008, because I stayed a year for a master's degree, I was going to get into the world of startups. And so the first company I worked at was this place called Oyala. Funny name. Basically, it was a bunch of ex-Googlers who thought they should have an equally weird name, because that would lead to success. This company made a video platform. So in 2008, YouTube was already huge. But if you went to sites like ESPN or ABC or NBC, places that have content, their video experiences were either not there at all yet or not very good. And so this company did pretty well kind of selling technology to those places. So if you go to ESPN.com now or ABC or NBC.com or Disney or something, and you want to watch a show there or a sports clip, it's likely that you're using technology powered by this company. And so I joined as like the 12th employee, maybe like the 6th or 7th engineer on my team. And I learned everything from how to like ship real products using a variety of new technologies to me to, as the company grew, I really took a chance to just branch out, right? So when you're reporting directly to the CTO, you can kind of weasel your way into lots of meetings that you really shouldn't be in. And actually at the time, my CTO was only like 28, so it's not like he knew what he was doing. And so in general, it was a huge learning experience. So the company went from like 12 people, like I said, to 2 years later, like 200 people. And I had grown from not knowing what the heck I was doing to being a pretty solid engineer and also spending a lot of time recruiting, some business development, a bunch of product management, that kind of stuff. And so, okay, 2 years went by. As the company grew a little bit more, I started to feel antsy. As companies get bigger, it's harder to really do that kind of weasel your way into everything kind of thing because people have their set jobs and suddenly your title means something. And so I decided to move on, and I was like, all right, employee number 12, I want to go even smaller. So I joined this startup as the first employee. It was this company called eTax, also a terrible name in retrospect. Everyone thought we were doing tax software. In reality, it was like contact management software. And so the idea was that you would pull in all of your email, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all phone records, all the places you talk to someone, and we would tell you like, hey, you haven't talked to your mom for 2 weeks, maybe you should call her. Or, more realistically, maybe, well, actually that's a good example. And so we had a pretty good product, but we really didn't know how to sell this thing. It's only really valuable to salespeople. And if you're familiar with this, maybe you're not, but there's a huge gorilla in that space. It's a company called Salesforce. They basically do this for salespeople, making sure that salespeople contact the right people, don't get out of touch with them, follow up on leads, that kind of thing. And so fortuitously, they took notice of us and bought us, and that was pretty cool. And so we kind of escaped the we have no business plan problem and joined Salesforce to more or less recreate the same product there. And I got a little bit antsy again a few months later because Salesforce is an old company. It's not like they're going to change the world with their contact management software. At least from my perspective, I was more interested in more exciting things. And so I decided, all right, I'm really going to go to like start my own company this time. I had gone from employee 12 to employee 1. You got to go to like employee 0 at that point. And so I had been following and really interested in this thing called Y Combinator for a long time. Maybe some of you guys are familiar with it. It's an incubator in the Valley. It's like somewhere down the road in Mountain View. And the idea is that you kind of apply to it like you apply to college in some sense. So you apply with a team, an idea, like a business plan effectively, and they either accept you or they don't. If they do, then they give you some money in exchange for a slice of your company as an investment. And there's a 3-month program twice a year where after during the 3 months, they give you pointers and really give you mentorship. A bunch of speakers come in, luminaries from all over the industry. And at the end, you kind of like present. You kind of present like you guys are presenting today. It's a little bit more formal, a little bit more intense. I'm sure you guys think this is intense. But basically, people come in and are looking at all these companies to decide whether to give them even more investment and to whether to really like double down and pour a bunch of money into an idea. And so I applied to this thing by myself. Normally people apply with a team. I was like a lone ranger at the time, and I had this not so amazing idea. At the time I was trying to find an apartment in San Francisco. This was like late 2010, early 2011. Right now the market's crazy. It was still pretty crazy back then. It was really hard to find an apartment. And I was like searching on Craigslist and all these random like websites to find an apartment, and it was all about who could get there first, and could you find out about it and make an offer as fast as possible. And I thought there must be a better way. It could be done through your phone. Maybe you could get updates about what all the apartments available were and respond to them. Kind of a dumb idea, honestly. And I went into the interview, and this guy was interviewing me. He's Paul Graham. He's kind of like the horse whisperer of like startups. He can like judge people in like 2 minutes and tell you whether you're going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg or not. He's very astute in judging people. And so I was in this interview, and he was hearing me out about my idea. He was like, okay, interesting. So underwhelming. And then he started to ask me, so why are you quitting your other job? And I said, well, I'm just not that interested in it. I want to do something more exciting, more innovative. He's like, but your other company just got bought. Aren't you leaving a bunch of money on the table? Like, don't you want to be rich? And I'm like, that would be nice, but like, I could get to that later. It might be kind of boring to just wait around for a bunch of money. And so I think that turned around the interview, and I walked out, wasn't feeling that great about it. He chased me into the parking lot and was like, hey, Ilya, how about this? We'll let you in if you promise not to work on that idea. And I was like, am I supposed to feel good about that? Okay, all right, I'm in. I don't know what I'm gonna work on. And so the program didn't start for a couple more months. And so in those kind of, 2 months or so, I was like, oh gosh, I really gotta figure out what I'm doing. I need to find some co-founders. Doing this alone is pretty miserable. And so I started to build mobile apps. Again, I had another not so great idea, which is that at the time, apps like Foursquare, all these social local things that were taking advantage of the sensors newly available on smartphones, things like GPS, cameras, all this stuff, were kind of being explored by a bunch of people, and a bunch of Valley money was pouring into that. And I was like, all right, well, let me go after that. And so this is my painfully brown idea. This was an app that would let you share your location in real time with people for a limited amount of time. So the idea was that you might be meeting up at a restaurant with your friends in the city, or you are caravanning, to Tahoe with your family. One way or another, it'd be nice to know where the rest of your party is. So in the restaurant example, maybe you have like a deadbeat friend who's like always late, and you want to know if he's actually coming or not. In the Tahoe example, maybe your mom got pulled over, and it would be nice to know about that before she frantically calls you. It wasn't a great idea, again. And so I was building these apps, and one thing that I realized was that the process of actually building an app was really tedious and painful. I, at the time, was like complaining to my friends who were also engineers, who were also in sort of this community building mobile apps. It felt like going to the DMV, right? You want to have this idea out to people, like the goal is to show your friends like some experience on the phone, but the work that goes into it is really difficult and tedious and repetitive, and you have to do it over and over again. And so sort of to go a little bit technical here, like every app has some amount of things that it needs to implement to store and retrieve data. So every time you say post something to Facebook, or you save something in your notes on the phone, that data goes somewhere, right? It goes over the internet to some databases on some servers somewhere. And so there's like a stack of things that everybody needs to implement, everything from security to the actual raw hardware on the back end. And then on the client side, there's also a bunch of other things that you need. And I won't go into the details here, but the point is that all of these things are shared among every app in the App Store. Like every app needs more or less all of this. Every app developer needs to think about this stuff. Every app developer doesn't want to think about this stuff, because you're not going to be out there recommending the next great app to your friends based on how well it validates your email address. Or like, you're never like, oh man, it's so cool, it's awesome. It never logs me out, and it feels very secure, right? Like it just either works or doesn't. What matters is like the actual app, like the thing that makes it different, the thing that makes it unique, the actual user experience, the interactions, the painfully brown UI in my case. That's the thing that I wanted to focus on, and I thought as I was going along with these ideas, maybe there was actually an idea in this itself. So yeah, what if what if I could build a platform for people like myself, people who wanted to build applications out on iOS and Android that abstracted away all of this work and let people really focus on the things that mattered and the things that would differentiate them in the market and would make them popular or make them money, the things that were different. And so I went through a series of bad ideas, and I think I ended up with a pretty good one. And so I decided to roll with it. And in this company, Parse, partially because it's a 5-letter English word that sounds kind of technical, and the domain was available. Sort of available. We had to pay some money for it, but it was relatively available. And so by this time, I had met a co-founder, Paul Graham. In addition to being a great judge of people, is a great judge of like effectively matchmaking. So I met someone that I really liked working with. After talking to lots of folks I obviously didn't want to work with. And so we got to it. This is May of 2011. This is my life. I wake up, I roll out of bed, I like put on some sweatpants, and I like move 2 feet over to the desk that's in the same room, and I write code. Kevin comes over, my co-founder. He like sits in the other room, does the same thing. Eventually later he leaves, and then I go to sleep. That's about it. I would sometimes leave the apartment to get some groceries or to see my girlfriend, but this was my life for a very long time. The idea was like we just needed to build something and get it out to the market and see if it was going to work. We were doing this all during this Y Combinator program. And we did pretty well, like showing it to various people along the way and getting some good feedback. And in August of 2011, we like revealed it to the tech press. And it was pretty well received. People started comparing us to this other company, which I didn't always appreciate because I thought we were our own thing, but whatever, it was cool. And so August is right around when that like demo day event happens. It's sort of like the coming out. And now it's time to raise money. So my life started to look like this. Write code, talk to the customers that were interested in our product and see what they wanted out of it, whether they would adopt it right now or whether we had to build some more features to make them adopt it later. And then I started to learn the skill of pitching VCs. And so there's probably some VCs in the audience here, so I won't be too mean about it. But it's not that fun, right? Like you go to this place called Sand Hill Road in Menlo Park, and there's all these like ski lodge looking buildings, and you like sign in and you sit around awkwardly, and then you like talk to someone who's made fortunes in his life and like can swat you out of the room at the blink of an eye, and you're there like pitching your life's work and trying to really get them to believe, and you have to do this over and over and over and over again because even the best companies can't get in the early stages get VCs to unilaterally love them. To put together enough money, you have to talk to a bunch of folks. So anyway, I won't sort of belabor that point. I did get really into energy drinks at this time. I thought that maybe if I drank one that was labeled 100% natural, that would be okay. Yeah, my doctor later informed me otherwise. One thing that we did is that every morning we had a ritual of going into the office and writing down the number of apps that were using us for real. So we had lots of people poking around and beta testing and like evaluating us, but we wanted to really like focus on the number of apps that were actually using us in the App Store that were like dependent on us as their own business, which would obviously yield like actual revenue in the future and would validate that, hey, this thing could really work in the real world. And so this was pretty depressing for a while because getting up in the morning and writing a big fat 0 is not fun, but it's also kind of motivating. And so this one, the 0 turned into a 1 and then a 5 and a 10 and 1,000. And we actually picked up some steam and we finally figured out the whole venture capital game. And so in, when was this? November 9th of 2011, we raised $5.5 million, and we're like, okay, what do we do with this money? Well, write code still, talk to customers, check. I guess we have to start recruiting people. Kind of have to upgrade the energy drink. Things got a little more intense, right? These people just gave us $5.5 million. It actually turned out to be 7 later. Like, you really have to deliver. These people have money on the line, and they have expectations, and they have a return to give to their investors, and there's a whole thing now dependent on it. And especially once you hire people, then those people depend on you for their livelihood and their salary. And so, yeah, I upgraded. 5 Energy, the real deal. somewhere in, when was this? March of 2012, we like came out of beta and sort of had this other moment of like, all right, now you guys can really trust us. You can build your entire business on us. Let's do this. The reason we did this was pretty interesting. So like there was this one moment where the Food Network emailed me. I'm sure you guys all know what the Food Network is. Pretty serious, media company. The Food Network emailed me and was like, hey, can we get on the phone later today? We really have some like urgent things to talk about. And I was like, urgent things? What are you talking about? All right, sure. And so I was kind of like, oh, maybe this is how they want me to pitch them about my product. Maybe they got interested. And so I get on the phone, I'm like all ready to like, give them the whole spiel about how this is gonna make their mobile apps better and faster and easier to develop. And they're like, yeah, we get it. We already have an app in the App Store. It's called the Food Network app, and it uses your product. And I'm like, well, that's exciting. How'd that happen? They're like, well, we just signed up and built on it. It's like, all right. So what are you calling about? And they're like, where do we pay you? Like, you guys don't have any pricing up. It's all free. Is this thing just going to collapse tomorrow? Like, are you guys a real deal? I'm like, yeah, we're real. He's like, all right, where's your enterprise contract? I'm like, I should probably have one of those enterprise contracts, huh? Are you ready to pay me money? They're like, yeah, what are you doing? And so we really like accelerated the whole thing, and we're like, okay, this is real. Like we can't be screwing around. We need to really start monetizing all of these apps and get serious and go out with a more aggressive approach. And so this is kind of what life looked like May of 2012. We had all this money and we had a product that was working, and so we need salespeople. We need all these people to be selling this product. We need marketers to support it. We need support people to answer questions. We need a new office. We need to figure out how to manage people. So we grew from just the founders to 24 people. It was, not a lot of sleep. So I doubled down. Just like whatever it took, legally. Is what we had to do. And so, things started to go well. Like the story gets kind of, more mundane. It's like day in, day out, doing the same thing and managing people and growing and recruiting and selling and pitching. And so over the course of, 2.5, 3 years, we did pretty well. We had a bazillion apps on the platform. These days we have like 200,000 of them. We signed a bunch of big name customers, the Travel Channel, Sesame Street's my favorite one, Lego, Fox Sports, Hello Kitty, Tom's Shoes. If you use any of these apps on your phone, it's likely, or it is, built on Parse. And this is just sort of the recognizable logos. There's tons of startups and others that we were working with. And so, things went pretty well. It was kind of a wild ride that we had to hold on to and really make work. And so around the same time the following year, May of 2013, no, sorry, not May, maybe February of 2013, we were looking to do the whole venture thing again. And we were more prepared this time and knew how to do it. And we're going around trying to raise more money to sort of accelerate even more and to get into new markets, more enterprise-focused markets. And we started to talk with Facebook. They were really interested in what we were doing. We had sort of had a relationship prior because our product makes it easy to build apps that are connected to Facebook, and they were interested in how we were doing that and what we were making easier for them. And so something exciting happened. They bought us, and that was cool. This is my team celebrating. You can see me in the back. I'm way too tired to even attempt jumping for the camera. I'm like awkwardly just opening my mouth and exuding excitement. And so since then, we've been at Facebook. We've grown a bunch. We've grown from 24 people at the time. In this photo, I think there's roughly 24 people to about 50 now. And so we've grown everything else. We're dealing with bigger customers, bigger brands, and generally investing more in the company. This is myself and Mark Zuckerberg on stage giving the pound and enjoying ourselves in this conference that we put on last year. So things have gone pretty well, but it's been kind of a wild ride. And I've learned a couple of things, so I'd love to share them with you if you'll listen. Before I get into that, though, this is one of my favorite quotes. This is by Paul Buchheit, who created Gmail, also was one of our investors. And it sort of reflects my opinion of advice. Generally, advice is limited life experience and overgeneralization. that's the best you can get. So I'm going to do a lot of that right now, but keep it in mind that it's just overgeneralization, and it might not work for you, or it might, but it's my experience and what I think is kind of important to think about if you want to do entrepreneurship or something like what I've done, kind of centered at folks that are at your stage of life. So the most important thing, probably not what your parents want to hear. Grades in college matter, but not really all that much, right? Not nearly as much as what I think I thought at the time, and not nearly as much as probably what you guys are thinking right now, grinding out whatever projects or tests or things you are doing. In general, they matter for your first job. Like, they matter when you are fresh out of school, you have no experience, and that first, Google, Facebook, startup, or whatever it is that you're doing, I'm just kind of generalizing to my experience, they're going to evaluate you based on your grades. But you don't need amazing grades. You need solid grades. And you don't need an amazing college. You need a solid college. And after that, it's all the same. I have not, I've hired, probably 50 to 70 people, interviewed, in order of magnitude more at this point. I have not ever really made my decision based on what college or grades a candidate has. And it's quite low signal once you get out of your first job. You're going to have so much more for someone to evaluate you on in your first job in the real world, where things are much less linear, much less defined than anything you do in school. So chill out about this. It's really not a big deal. On the other hand, what you do need to do, and this is sort of a programming term, throwing some exceptions is when like some code encounters some event that is unexpected. So either some input that isn't expected, not in the right format, or some bug or something, so the code throws an exception. And I think this is really an interesting sort of metaphor for what I think you need to do in life to lead an exceptional life. You can't really lead an exceptional life. You can't like start a company and grow it to great success or be an amazing researcher or do great things without actually like jumping off the beaten path, because the beaten path will suck you into a normal job where you like slowly and steadily advance, and that's going to feel great. It does feel great, right? It's comfortable, you get paid, you keep growing, you get challenges here and there, but that's kind of what everyone does, right? And so if you want something exceptional, you have to throw some exceptions yourself. And so in my experience, like I did this all the time. I quit my first job just because I wasn't really feeling it, not for any good reason, but I thought, I'm slowing down here a little bit, I'm not learning as much, maybe I should just quit my job and do something else. And I didn't actually have anything lined up. I did some travel between the next one. Similarly, when I was looking to start the company and go into this program like Combinator, I gave up a ton of money to do that. And it wasn't because I didn't value money. I mean, money's good, it lets you do things. But because I thought, I'm gonna get stuck in this thing waiting for this paycheck forever. And so doing this over and over again has helped me get out of this rut and do some extraordinary things. It obviously takes work and all sorts of other stuff, but you don't really get that opportunity unless you jump out of the normal road yourself. Embrace failure. I just like talked about my terrible ideas for 10 minutes, right? These were part of my journey. I had to have these ideas, and I had to have like had these experiences talking to people, in the last case, building something similar to me, to even understand that there was an opportunity to build something for them and to give them a great product. And so in general, failure is a great way to learn. If you're continuously succeeding, you're not really like pushing yourself, and you're not doing, you can't really tell if you're succeeding because you happen to be in the right place at the right time, or because there's some external forces. When you fail, it's like a great opportunity to understand what you did wrong and what you can learn from it. Done is better than perfect. This is actually all over the Facebook campus. They love this phrase. And so I had this in my head, but they sort of put it in words better than I did. And so this is something that I think applies to folks in high school, but it applies even more as perfect isn't even defined, right? So perfect in high school is maybe grades and SATs and all that stuff. But once you get into college, perfect could be grades, but it could be research achievement, it could be other things. Once you get out of college, it's like, what is perfect? No one knows. But there's always an abstract desire to like polish everything that you do, whether it's your resume or your product or whatnot. And in my experience, done is much better than perfect. When we shipped our first product out to the world, it was like 6 weeks after we started. it barely did anything. It was embarrassing. It was just like kind of a piece of crap. And Paul Graham, who was our mentor, loved it. Like he's like, if you're not shipping something that you're embarrassed of, you've waited too long, right? Like you need feedback on what you're doing. You need to get it out to the world as fast as possible. And so we really took that to heart and really focused on getting things out quickly and just like doing the best we could as fast as possible rather than waiting for the absolute perfect product to be out there or the absolute perfect candidate or the absolute perfect office for that matter. Like our offices were terrible. Do things do things that your competition isn't willing to do in business or in life. And so sort of speaks for itself. One example that we did is when we were just getting started, I sort of left this off my apartment slide, but when we were just in my apartment putting our product out there, we would get people poking around, signing up for our newsletter or like asking us questions on the forums where we were presenting this thing. And most people would take that feedback or whatever the question was sort of at face value and leave it there. We actually sought these people out. So we would ask these people like, hey, can we come by your office and just like talk to you and show you our product and see if it works for you? And so we spent the first few months of our existence literally driving around Silicon Valley and San Francisco, like effectively pestering people into letting us get into their door and sit with them and see if our product was working. And if you go the normal path, you're not going to do that. You're going to like take their feedback over email and kind of like go about your day and build a product as you see fit in your own head. But what really matters is what people want out there in the real world. And so this is something that is a common theme in startup life is like do things that don't scale, do things that your competition isn't willing to do because it's too painful or too annoying. Do it just to do it. This is something I always tell people who are considering joining one of my companies. Many things are not as risky as they seem. And so when we were recruiting engineers, we were trying to at the time pull pretty senior people out of Google who had fairly established careers there to come join our crappy little startup where it's like 3 guys in like a dingy office and a lot of like empty cans of Red Bull, right? It's not exactly the glamorous thing that you're used to at Google, and it certainly doesn't pay nearly as well. We could barely pay people, and the desks are like from IKEA and falling apart. And so there's always this question of like, why would I take this risk? I've got a great career at Google or wherever this person was coming from. And one of the things I always tell people is like many things are not as risky as they seem, right? All of these people can always go back to Google and get a great job. All of these people can always go back to another company and get a great job. And generally the greatest risk is not taking risks, right? There's a wealth of opportunities, certainly for everyone who goes to Harker, to have a stable, decent paying job to get by. That's just like almost a given. And we're all very fortunate in this room, and like we shouldn't take that for granted. But it's also an opportunity to take extra risks that you might not otherwise take, because on the face of it, most things that you think through are not as risky as they seem. If you embrace failure and are okay with it, it'll be all good. Let's see. Don't idolize others. I think this one is there's not much to say here. I think that if you look at people kind of in the light of that first cartoon slide where people's success looks like a straight line to you, you're going to think, well, my path is not a straight line. I obviously am not like qualified to do this, or I don't know how to do this. I don't have a plan like they do. Well, all of those people didn't have a plan. If you ever talk to like Mark Zuckerberg or Drew Houston or anyone who's done great things with their companies, they have very squiggly lines on the way to success. And if you idolize them too much, you might think, oh, I can't do that myself. Don't do that. Lastly, there is no end. It's all relative. So like, I remember being a senior in high school. I was like, oh God, the only thing I need to do is get into college and everything will be all right afterwards. Done, right? It's not true. Like, I felt the same way when I was selling my company. I'm gonna sell my company, it's like retirement money. It's just like, everything's gonna be great afterwards. It's not true at all. Like as soon as that happens, like the bar for the next thing you want to do just rises immediately. You get used to it. And so now I want to do greater things, and now like that pushes me to do more. And I think the point is to compare yourself to that bar that you want in the very next step, and not to sort of treat anything that you're doing as like an end, a like goal in and of itself, because it's really about the journey and not the destination. The destination just like resets the next destination that you want to go to. And so that's my like words of wisdom. Remember, it's all overgeneralization. So if it doesn't apply or doesn't seem right, don't worry about it. And with that, I will take some questions if you guys are interested. You can contact me any of these ways. Parse.com is our website and our product. If you're interested in building an app and using our product, I'd love to help you. You can contact me at is@fb.com or at Twitter at Ilya Sukhar. Thank you.
Hi, so we're going to open up for questions right now. So the highest rated question on Slido was, what experiences were most valuable to you in college and after to develop the skills, technical know-hows necessary to bring your startup from ideas to prototype? Useful college classes, internships perhaps?
Yeah, so I certainly found some classes in college interesting and useful, but I would say that I generally didn't use much of that knowledge in starting a company. I think that my passion for programming and building stuff on the computer predated college by a long shot, and so when I was in Harker, I was trying to figure out how to hack various video games and trying to build various little websites that made money, try to sell things on eBay. I did all sorts of stuff, and so I would say that there's plenty of great classes, and I can probably talk to you about what I think are the most useful, say, computer science classes. But in general, I think it was the tinkering after school and after class in college that was what made it easier for me.
And what mistakes did you make during college that you wish you did not make? Did it affect your future?
Well, that's a good question. Mistakes that I make during college. Yeah, it's interesting. So I think that, so in high school, this might also be kind of offensive to parents, but I felt like all the clubs and after-school activities were kind of all about padding your resume to go to college, and there's probably some aspect of truth to that, but there's some aspect of people having an actual really good time in these things. And so I did some of that in high school, but when I got to college, I was like, forget it, I'm done with that. I'm just gonna go to class, I'm gonna go home, do my homework and hang out with my friends and tinker on the computer. And so I actually missed out on a lot of on-campus opportunities because I was a little bit burned out on that kind of stuff. So I think I missed out on interacting with people in the broader community and doing entrepreneurship clubs and really meeting more people. It's a great way to do that.
And another question on a lot of audiences' minds were, did your addiction to energy drinks sometimes made you lead to bad decisions? If so, can you name any?
Bad decisions from energy drinks. They're really, what's interesting is that I'm actually really sensitive to coffee, and most of those energy drinks are not as strong as coffee. So, they sound more wild, but they're really not. No, I made a lot of bad mistakes, but I don't think any of them are attributable to caffeine.
And on Parse, what was your primary revenue?
What was our primary revenue? We just charged for the service. So, for example, the Food Network paid us a base fee for our service, and then paid us a volume-based pricing based on how popular their app was, how much traffic was going to our servers through their app.
Do you think college was essential given your entrepreneur spirit to learn in your own way?
I think so. So I've kind of ragged on sort of the traditional education stuff, but I think college is actually very worthwhile to go to and very essential, because I think that you generally get exposed to a wider variety of people than you do in high school and a wider variety of opportunities. I think it's important to figuring out what you want to do with your life. I wasn't really sure I wanted to do what I do now right after, at 18. I think 18 is too early.
And why did you decide to sell Parse to Facebook, although Parse was doing relatively well?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we were doing quite well. I think that we saw a future at Facebook that we couldn't really achieve very quickly ourselves. One thing that Facebook has offered us is the ability to really focus on the sorts of apps and sort of use cases that we like. So sort of consumer, social, games or apps on the phone. And I think for our company to have made enough money in raw revenue to return the money to the venture capitalists at the rate that they wanted to, if we continue to raise and keep going and going and going, we would have had to have focused on very enterprisey things like HR apps for companies, which isn't exactly what we were looking for.
You mentioned how you had to hire a lot of new employees when you were at Parse. So how did you decide to hire their employees? Did you have any weird questions you asked them in the interview, like companies like Facebook or Google do?
Yeah, to some extent. So I had Internet Google, and a bunch of the people I was working with at Parse were longtime Googlers. So we definitely had a similar style of questions. mean, there's two things that I like to do. One was that I would, in some ways, try to argue with a person. So like I would look at the resume or like pick on something that they were saying to me and like subtly argue with them, because I think for me, in deciding whether it's like going to be fun and exciting and productive to work with someone, you kind of have to figure out, are they going to argue with you in a productive manner? Are they going to challenge you? At the same time, are they going to do that in a way where you can like resolve a conflict and like, decide an engineering question together in unison? And I think that's really important to feel out, because there's lots of people who are super smart, super accomplished, but just like on one way or another are hard to work with. And I think that's super important in a small company.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.